Hi, today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this, coming up. Greetings, the Astro 30 here yet again, and today I'm going to show you how to make an extension cable for one of these, a pair of analog stereo headphones. Now this is not going to be applicable for ones that use a USB connection. This is for ones that use the standard 3.5mm stereo plug. And it's also going to be applicable for ones that use the 6.5mm stereo plug. They're both the same. So have you ever had the situation where you've got a pair of headphones like this and this cable is just not quite long enough? Well, to solve that, we can make an extension cable. So what you're going to need for this is a 3.5mm plug, and this one looks like it's got a bit of a bend in it, but that's okay, they're only cheap. A 3.5mm line socket, this is what these are called inline plugs and sockets. And a 2-core shielded audio cable. Now this is an old Dick Smith one that I've had knocking about. It's about 1.5 meters long. You can make your extension cable as long as you want. Remember that cable like this, it has 2 conductors and a shield. You're going to look at around about probably $1.10 per meter for this stuff. So the longer you make the cable, the more expensive it's going to get. All in all, what I've got here for 1.5 meters length of cable and these 2 connectors, we're looking at around about $7. So it's not that expensive. So first off, to start with, let's look at how this plug actually works. Now on the standard 3.5mm and 6.5mm respectively plugs here, they're called phono plugs for want of a better term, we have a tip, a ring, and the barrel. Now the barrel is usually ground, the ring is the right hand channel, and the tip is the left hand channel. Now if we take the casing off and we have a look at the connection pins here, you'll notice that right directly here in the center there's a little rivet. Now the pin that is connected to, which is this one here, that should be the tip and the other one should be the ring, but we can verify that by just measuring it with a continuity tester, because I could have it back to front. It wouldn't surprise me in this instance because it seems to happen quite often to me. But we'll take our multimeter in continuity mode, and it's that one there. Indeed, that one is the tip. So the one connected to the rivet is the tip, the one at the end here. This one should be the ring. If I can get my multimeter probe on there. Indeed it is. And that is obviously going to be the ground. So now that we know which pin is what, we can start by stripping back some of this cable, but before we strip the cable back, a good practice is, because we've got the thing off the plug itself, is to put it on the cable first before we forget to do it, because there's nothing worse than you've soldered up both ends but you've forgotten to put this bloody thing on. So make sure to put that on. So then we need to strip back this cable, and we're not going to need a lot of length on this, probably about no more than about 12mm, 15mm at the maximum, I suppose. I think it's that one there. I mean, that was the wrong jaw. Let's try the other one next to it. I'm usually better at stripping cable than this, but there we go. That was a bit more climactic than necessary. Okay, so after separating the wires, we can see we've got 2 conductors here, a red and a white, And we've got a bunch of loose strands of copper wire here. That's the shield, or in this case ground. So I'm going to start by making sure I've got all the strands together, and I'm going to twist these together to stop them from floating around. I'm going to separate the two conductors like that, and my strippers won't strip this type of wire because it's too thin, so I'm going to use a pair of side cutters, and I'm just going to nip off the insulation about 1/8 of an inch at the end there, probably a bit more than that, and the same on the red one. And a bit more. That should do. And again, I'm going to twist the ends of the wires together so that they stop from fraying. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my plug in this little tool here so it stops it from moving around, makes it easier to solder. And this video is actually aimed at the novice, not somebody who already knows what they're doing. So someone may find this interesting or even helpful. I'm just going to verify that it is the tip. Yes, it is, so that's going to be the left. So the easiest way to do this now is I'm going to start with the two conductors. So I'm going to start with the left. Just going to rest it in there. And then I'm going to use the other clamp on the tool to hold the cable so it stops it from moving, like so. I'm just going to slightly put a hook in the end of the wire there so it hooks on into the eyelet, and grab my solder, and I'm going to solder them like that, and then I'm going to do the same for the ring, or the right, and it is kind of fiddly, but with a bit of patience and persistence you'll get it. Same thing, I'm going to put a little bit of a hook on the end of it to hold it in there prior to soldering, and then solder it. And that's it. That's all I need to do there. And finally, I'm going to do the shield. So I need to get this to somehow agree with me. It probably would have been easier to do the shield end first, because yeah, now I don't have a lot of wire to play with. So because I'm not going to use all that length of wire anyway, I can actually cut that down just to make this job a little bit easier. And then I can pass this through the hole, fold him back like I did for the conductors, hold it with the tool, and then we can solder it, and we should have a good little connection here once I can get the solder to melt, or take to the metalwork I should say. There, and that's all you should really need to do. And so the last thing we do on this end is we take a pair of pliers and we fold over the strain relief metalwork to clamp onto our cable. And because we didn't forget our protective outer insulation, we can just neaten up our wires a bit, double check that our work, that it's soldered properly, and then screw that back on. And there we go. So that's the plug end done. So now we've got to move on to the socket end. And the same thing is we take off the insulation and we pass it on the other end of our cable before we forget to do it. So looking at our barrel, for what I'm going to call it, how do we know which is the right and which is the left on here? Well, for a start, on this particular connector, the connection points for the wires are different shapes. This one's rounded and this one's square. And they're also a different colour, but that could be due to tarnishing. This one's got a sort of like a reddish colour to it, and this one is silver. However, that's not really going to help us out much, is it? So, a trick. So we take our cable that we've just put the protective outer cover on. We strip back our insulation as best as I can with this stuff, because it's fairly tough. And we do the same thing we did the other end. We just sort the shielding wire out from the conductors. And we take our newly done plug end, plug it into the socket, and I'll just mount this in the jaws just to hold it. And I'll strip back each conductor, and then we can do a continuity check between each of these pins and these wires and find out which one's which. This wire, the red one, and I'll touch it to one of these pins. Yeah, it's got tarnishing on it, that's why it's a different colour. Right, so the square one would be the ring connection, and this one is completely open. Swap them around, the white wire now. Okay, so the square one is the ring and the rounded one is our left channel. And then I can solder him. Like so, I believe that's soldered. Now I've got a little bit of excess hanging over, so I might just trim that off with the side cutter so it doesn't short against the ground. Missed a bit. Let's have a look at that. And that's not quite soldered. Now it is. Get the wire in there, put a little bit of a hook on it. And I can solder that one too. Okay, it doesn't take much. And now I can deal with the shielded end. Grab it and pull on it. Now, how does that look? I can't really see because it's probably a bit too, yes, that's about right. Okay, so put this back in here, and now I can solder the shielded. See how I've bent it and up towards the end of the socket? That's just to make it neater, and so that the screw thing that you put on the end here, the insulation, what do you want to call it, can screw back on. So that's that done, take that out. Now I can crimp over the strain relief clamp. I mean, yeah, Astro 30 doing a video on crimping it, well, soldering an audio cable. How exciting. As I said, this is probably more likely for the complete novice rather than someone that already knows what they're doing. Right, that should do the job. Now, I'm just going to do a quick continuity check from my plug end. So we'll start with the ground, which should be, that's connected. Now the ring, which is the red wire, which is over here. Or is it there? No, it's there. Yep, that's continuous. And the tip, which is there. Excellent. And just to make sure we haven't got a short circuit to ground, open on the ring, open. Cool. And then we can just screw the shield on, or the cover. Like that, and we're done. And all that's left to remain is to just test it with an audio source and headphones, and it should be good to go. That's it. Plain and simple. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to go down below, like, comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And this is the Astro 3 saying, as always, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Have a great day.